With full management, I could create hospital management app with only Next.js, with user authentication using Clerk, and getting the statistics of the hospital with categories and all details about doctors. We can make appointment, and everything here comes from Shadcn with this design. And whenever you make appointment, you will receive an email after the admin confirm this appointment. And here is our new appointment. When we click on it, here is our information: my name, appointment and the doctor name, date and time, and appointment ID. This email service comes from Resend. And this app is supported with AI Assistant. If I want to check my appointments, the AI will help me getting all my appointments. Here is my appointment, the date, time, and the doctor. And here, as an admin, you can approve or cancel any appointment you want, and you will receive an email with all status. And you can also add a new doctor. With this nice design comes from Shadcn, and everything has a live preview. And the admin is fully protected with the power of Convex. Here is our data. And since you are admin, you have the full access to control the dashboard. Convex is a real-time data. Whenever you make any changes or posting data, Convex will be updated, as you can see here. The project is so simple, so don't get worried about the details. You will learn everything from scratch. So first, let me install Next.js 16. Here I created a new folder, Hospital Management, Ctrl-J to open terminal and install it. By the way, I am using anti-gravity. You are free to use any one of them. You can use Cursor or Visual Studio Code. Install Next.js. And the name of project, it can be Hospital System. And I will use the recommended defaults, which comes from Next.js, including TypeScript, ESLint, Tailwind, and App Router. And the next step, I'm going to use Shadcn for design system. You can choose here Docs, then use Next.js and install it. But before that, I have to make sure here to say cd hospital system, then Shadcn. You can choose whatever you want. I will choose neutral here, which is the base color. And if I say npm run dev, I can see now the localhost 3000. And here is Next.js 16. Now I'm gonna move to Convex. Convex, as you can see, is a real-time database. Without refreshing our page every single time, we can see our updated data through Convex. So if I say here start building, to see the documentation, make sure to log in and you will see this dashboard. But first, I need to start tutorial to see how Convex works. Here you can see quick start. And I will choose Next.js. And here is full guide how to install Convex and use it. First, we have to install Next.js, which we had already installed it. Then, after make cd to our app, we have to install npm install Convex. So I will take npm install Convex, and I will restart the terminal and install it. Then the next step, I have to say npx convex dev. This will prompt us to log in with GitHub, but since I already made this previously, maybe I will not see this warning. But if you face it, just log in through GitHub. It's very simple. So I will say npx convex dev. And I will create a new project. And it can be hospital system. I will leave it as default and I will hit enter. And I will choose for that cloud deployment. Now Convex functions ready. And if I open this hospital system, I can see now the Convex folder and inside it generated folder. This folder is very important. Through this folder, all our functions run through this folder. And you will see that later. And it's created by default .env. Inside it, everything about Convex, Convex deployment, and Convex URL. Now the next step. I will head to Clerk. Clerk is complete user management. Through Clerk, we can make login, register, create account without writing any code. So make sure to log into Clerk, then head to Dashboard. Create a new app by clicking here and say Create Application, and choose the name of our application. And here you can choose how the user will log in. You can choose Google, Facebook, GitHub, whatever. I will choose Google and GitHub. And our form will be like this: Create Application. Then here is documentation of Clerk. First, we have to install Next.js, and we had installed it already. Then inside .env, we have to copy paste publishable key and secret key. So let's copy it and head to .env and paste them, just like this. The next step, we have to create proxy TS, and inside it, this middleware. I will copy it. And inside the root of our project, which we can see package JSON, here I will create a new file, proxy.ts, and paste it. Now the next step, we have to go to Layout to wrap our project with Clerk provider. I don't need right now to import sign in button or sign out button. All I need right now is to import Clerk provider. So I will head to Layout, Ctrl P, Layout. But I think I forgot to install Clerk here. Okay, I will install it here. And make sure to have two separate terminals. The first one is for Convex, and the other one, let me create here, new terminal, is for Next.js. And here I will say cd, again, cd, hospital system, then install Clerk. And don't forget also to run the terminal, the Convex terminal, by saying npx convex dev. Now, let me wrap our layout with Clerk provider, Ctrl P, Layout, and here inside return I will say Clerk provider. Just like this. Imported from Clerk Next.js. Now the next step is to connect Convex to Clerk. If I write here Convex and Clerk, here I can see documentation, Convex and Clerk. It's very simple way to use it, so whenever we make login, Convex will see the user's information. So how we can do it? We have to use JWT inside Clerk dashboard. So here now we are on Clerk. If I go to Configure, then we can see here Sessions and JWT templates. Let's choose it and create a new template for JWT, and our JWT here inside Issuer is this one. So I will copy it and go again to Convex dashboard, this one. Here you can log in, and now we can see our new project, Hospital System. I will choose it, go to Settings, then Environment Variables. Here we will add our new environment variables, which is Issuer. Here I will write Clerk JWT Issuer Domain, and it must be the same name inside our project. So we have to make sure it's the same name. The next step, after creating JWT templates, we have to create inside Convex, not inside another folder, so make sure to make it inside Convex. We have to create authconfig.ts. So I will create it inside Convex. Here is our Convex file, authconfig.ts, and I will copy paste everything. Now inside it, as you can see, we got right now Clerk JWT Issuer Domain, which we had created inside our dashboard. And I will put it also inside process.env. So here I will say env. Let me go back again to Clerk and copy it, paste it, and here I will say Clerk JWT Issuer Domain. Now I will say again npx convex dev. Make sure we are now inside our Convex terminal, npx convex dev. Okay, now everything is working. Now the next step, you are now inside Convex and the Clerk. We were done npx convex dev, which we had it already. Now we have to install Clerk, Next.js, not React, but we had installed it already. .env, we are not using it. We are using Next.js, next public, publishable key, and here we can find it here. Publishable key from Next.js. Now the next step. Here we have main.tsx, because here they are using Vite, but since we are using Next.js, so we have to make it inside layout. So the layout here we had created, now we have to modify it, because we are using Convex and Clerk together. Here, as you can see, inside Clerk provider, now we have to add inside it Convex provider with Clerk. So here, let's modify it. I will remove Clerk provider. And before the children here, I will add Convex client provider. Just like this. But Convex client provider now is not defined. So I will create another component for it. I can create it here inside our component folder. Components. Now inside components, new file, convex client provider.tsx. And here I will copy paste everything with some modifications. I will say here RFCE, the default template, which is an extension. You can find it inside here, extensions. Just write ECMAScript 7. And you can find this extension, RFCE. And now it's giving me the recommended lines to apply it. But here I will write it manually just to show you how to make it. So inside return, here I will say Clerk provider. Since we are deleted from layout, we have to add it here inside Convex client. And here I will import it. And inside it, if I go back here, we have to add Convex provider with Clerk. So I will copy, paste it. And here I will import it also from Convex. And if I go back here, I have to add also client Convex and User Auth. This is for Clerk. And as you can see, Convex here is not defined because we had to add this Convex. And also we have to replace Vite Convex URL since it's wrong. But let me add it here before the function. And instead of that, I will remove here import meta. And inside it, I will say process.env.nextPublic convex URL. If I go back here to .env, here by default, when we installed Convex created Convex URL. And make sure also to import Convex React client from React Clerk. And you can make sure from the import here inside our documentation. And also User Auth is not defined, so let's import it. But here I will remove Clerk. And here I have to wrap it with children. And put the children here. If I go back to documentation, here inside Clerk provider, we have to add our publishable key. So let's copy it. It's very important. And here we will import it from process.env.nextPublic Clerk publishable key, which we obtained previously from Clerk. Now let me go back here to layout to import Convex client from components. Now let me create the header. Inside components, I will create header just to apply the user authentication, header.tsx, RFCE, and here I will say const is signed in equal to User Auth. User Auth comes from Clerk, so make sure to import it. Clerk Next.js. Now inside return, here I will create nav and give it class name from Tailwind. Then I will create our first div. I will give it container, margin X auto, and some padding with flex and justify between. And here I will add our logo. Here I can find this icon from Lucid React. Lucid React comes by default when we install Shadcn. So make sure to import it just like this. Then I will import link and make sure to not get confused between link Lucid React and link next link. Now we are using next link because if you made this mistake, you might get a big error. So it must be from next link. Now after this, I will create the nav items, which includes here the nav links.map, but we don't have the nav links, so here let me create it. Here I will say nav links, which includes the home page, doctors, and my appointments. And here I will give the condition. But here let me import the cn, and also I will define the path name here. So const path name equal to use path name, which comes from Next navigation. So whenever I switch between the nav links, I can see different colors. That's why I have to define path name. So inside map, we have the href and the label, just like above. Now after this div, I will create the auth button to make the condition. These buttons will be inside flex div and item center. And inside it, I will say if signed in, here I will make the condition. If I'm signed in, I can see my user button. User button comes from Clerk. I will import it, control space, here from, as you can see, User Auth, and user button comes from Clerk Next.js. And when we make npm run div, you will see this user button. And here inside user button, you will see that we have sign out option. So after we make sign out, it will redirect me to the home page. Otherwise, if you are not logged in or we don't have an account yet, here we can create div and inside it, sign in button. Sign in button also comes from Clerk. So I will import it from Clerk, and button here comes from Shadcn. So we have to install it. How we can install it? I will go back to Shadcn. Then here inside search documentation, I can search for button. And here we can install it. I will copy it and install it. Okay, now I can import it. I think everything is ready inside this page. So let me say npm run dev. Here I got an error, use swr, which means there is an error comes from import. I think the error inside this page. Okay, I found the error. The error inside use auth. It comes from Clerk React, but it's wrong. It must be from Clerk Next.js. So here I can add it and use Clerk Next.js. Okay, now the error is gone. And it's very simple, create context only in client component. That means we have to use client component inside Convex client provider. So here I will say use client. Okay, now we cannot see anything because we didn't remove anything inside the default page here. I will remove everything, only fragment, and for the header, I will not put it inside page, but inside our layout here. I will put it above, header, and import it. I have to put it here inside Convex Client Provider and import it here from Components Header. Now we can see our header. Let's try to log in. And if you can see, this form comes from Clerk. And by the way, this overlay you are seeing here right now and this style comes because we are using here inside header. Let me go back. We are using here mode model. If I remove it from sign in button, refresh the page, log in. Now I can see it in separate page, not like model. So let me make Ctrl Z. It's optional, but it's nice for a good style. Let me go back again, refresh the page and log in. Now I can see it in this way. I will make sign in using Google, or if you want to sign in using GitHub. And now we are signed in, and here as you can see our user button. And inside it, you can see manage account and signed out. But now we cannot see our information inside Convex because we hadn't created any tables. Now let's create our schema. Inside Convex folder, I will create a new file called schema.ts. And I will copy paste everything and explain to you how it works. Here I have to say define schema. And inside it, we have doctor schema, which includes name, the category, which related to image, bio, expertise, experience, and here search index and index. So inside our table, here inside schema, I can filter anything easily by using index here. For example, I can search for doctors here according to the category. And here is another schema defined table, which called categories, including name, icon, description. And now for the patient. And here we have token identifier, which is very important, is the Clerk ID. So every patient has his own token come from Clerk. And here we got another table for appointments, which includes doctor ID and patient ID. It's very important. And as you can see here, there's a relation between doctors here inside this schema, and also we have another relation with patient. And also we have the date, status, and notes. So I will save it. And here, after refreshing the page, we can find our new schemas, and everything now is empty. And if I go back to Convex terminal here, I can see added table indexes. But now here is the problem. I can see my information, and I'm talking here about the patients here, which is the users, since I made logged in, because we didn't sync user to Convex. How we can make it? I will go back here again to Convex Client Provider. Because actually, if I go back to the documentation, Clerk and Convex together, here I can see again authenticated. The thing we will apply it. So inside Convex Provider with Clerk, here I will pass authenticated and trap it inside children. This is the first step. And make sure to import it from Convex React. To sync user with Convex, all you need to do is to create a new function called user sync. You can create it as a component in separate file or separate page or inside the same file. How we can make it? I prefer to make it inside another file. So inside components, user sync.tsx. The default template, then I will say const user equal to use user. Use user comes from Clerk Next.js, and by the way, I think we had to make it as client component. Use client. Then we have to create a new user and sync it to Convex by using use mutation. Use mutation is a feature comes from Convex, so let's import it. Use mutation Convex React. And we also have to import API, which comes from generated file inside Convex. And patients comes from our schema. But what about create user? Create user is a function we have to create it in separate file inside our Convex. And it can be patients.ts. So make sure to create this file and inside it, export const create user, and inside it mutation. And here I will accept the autocomplete comes from anti-gravity, which includes arguments and handlers. And by the way, every mutation you will create it will include every single time arguments and handlers. Arguments, which includes the data come from the schema, which is patient schema, and the handler to process this data and send the user's information or patient's information to database. And by the way, here we got get user identity. Where you can find it? Go back again to documentation for syncing Convex and Clerk, and here you can see it. We didn't create anything by ourselves. Everything comes from this documentation. You can use it copy paste. But here, since we accepted the autocomplete comes from anti-gravity, I think it's correct. And by the way, you can find all the source code inside GitHub and I will give it for free. Just make sure here to import v, which value comes from convex value, and import also mutation, which comes from generated server. And now after getting user ID, here it will create a new user with the same information inside our schema. So db.insert, insert for patient schema. Let's save it. And here, make sure to import usersync, but usersync now is empty, so let's handle it. And here I will use effect and if user. And now I can use this function create user, which we had created it inside patient. And don't forget inside use effect to call the user and create user. Otherwise, it will return null. I think actually we don't need to create separate page for sync user. We can handle it here inside Convex client provider. So here what I'm going to do, I will take this function and put it inside Convex here after everything. And now I can import the use user and use mutation, API, and use effect. And here I will say return none. But here we got issue for name. Here let me say user.fullname or user.firstname. And let me remove this page and delete it. I don't need it. Here I can put user sync inside it. And make sure everything inside Convex client provider with this arrangement. Authenticated inside it user sync, and inside it after that we have the children. It's very important. Now let me sign out and log in again. But here we got issues. 404 not found for the client sessions. This issue comes from Clerk. Let me go again here to Clerk. Dashboard and choose your app, which is deep care here. Configure, sessions, JWT templates. I remember that I made JWT template before, but I don't know why it's not appearing here. Let me create another one. Okay, I got it, because I only copy and pasted this issuer inside Convex, but here I didn't choose here Convex. And now everything here is changing. I will click here save. Now the template is created. And I will copy paste it again. Just to make sure, go again to settings, environment variables, and here is it. I will edit it again and save it. If I reload the app again, I can't see any error here. And now our information is inside Convex after making login. Now I don't want to waste my time and create here data for categories, doctors, patients. All I can do here is go back again to Convex docs, and inside it, here is a full documentation about how to upload sample JSON data. All we need to do is, inside our directory, we have to create, let's say, doctors.jsonl and paste everything. You can take it ready from GitHub, so we don't have to waste our time. And here is all the data about the doctor, the name, category, the image of the doctor, bio, expertise, and whatever. And we will do the same thing here for categories. Just create another file, categories.jsonl, just how Convex made it, JSONL. And inside categories, make sure to copy paste everything. Now how to import it. It gives us npx convex import table, and the name of the table here is categories. Here is inside our table, categories. Now the name of the file, which is categories.jsonl. So let's import it. Now 6 documents to table categories. We will do the same thing for doctors. Let me change here the name. Instead of categories, I will say doctors. And the schema is doctors. Okay, 14 documents to table doctors. Let me here say, okay, now we have post data for categories and doctors. And again, let me say npx convex dev. And now our next step is to create the landing page. Let me go back here to page again and delete everything. And inside this div, I'll give it class name flex call minimum height screen. And here I will create 4 components for hero, statistics, categories, and doctors. And I will create also after main for the footer. Now inside components, let's create the hero.tsx, the default template, stats also, tsx, categories, rfce, and here we got the top doctors, tsx, and the last one is the footer. But actually we will not put it here inside page, but inside layout, here after or before the body. And I will create it also inside the components. Okay, and I will import it and import everything to get started. And here is our 4 components. Now let me start here with hero section. Inside it I will give it a class name and it will be 2 sections. That's why I put here flex and item center. First we have the image or the background image, which includes here the image which comes from Next.js. Actually, I don't have hero.png, the hero background. Here what we can do. Let me here click Ctrl L to open the AI agent. Here I will ask to create an image inside it. Just say create hero pg inside public folder contains modern hospital building. And here you can say also image, just to make it clear. And let's hit enter and see what will happen. And here, as you can see, it starting creating the image using Nano Banana, but inside anti-gravity. And here is the image we want. And look at this. It put this image automatically by default inside the page we want. Just because we added here, or we said here, hero pg.png, so it could realize it immediately. And here is our image. And it applied the overlay also. Now let's build the other section, which is the form, and I will give it a class name here. And here we will create some paragraphs and button, book appointment, and I will import it from Shadcn. Let me save it. And here is our section. Actually, we need to modify it a little bit because we need to change the black text. So here inside the span, I will give it here text, red. I will choose 600 and I will do the same thing here for the button. And look at this, anti-gravity just realized it and it wanted to change it to red 600. And here I will change it from white to red, just like this. I think now it's better. Now let's create the form. Here is our booking form card. And by the way, we can use it from Shadcn by saying here React hook form. I will click it. It's from Zot here. First, I will install this form from Shadcn and I will say npm react hook form. From hook form resolvers Zot. And I will hit enter. Now I can install the form immediately from Shadcn just like this. After finishing, I will say npm run dev. Now we can see here inside Shadcn lot of options to use the form. You can use it just like this from Zot, or use controller also, text area, or cards with field descriptions. And this form schema, the one we will use it since we have a form. So let me copy paste this one and import everything. I will import the form. from React hook form field, from UI component Shadcn, form item, also from Shadcn, form control Shadcn, input. I think we have to install input. It's a separate one. So here I will say instead of add form, add input. Okay. Now I will import it. Form message, select. Actually, I need to install select. So add select. Import select. From UI select, so make sure not from radix, components UI select. Select trigger from components UI select. Select value. Select content. And select item. Now the form here is not defined because we don't have use state right now, and also on submit function. So let's create them. So I will go above const form equal to use form, which comes from React hook form. So just make sure to import it. But before continue, I have to make sure to identify everything inside the form because we want the name, department, and date. And here I will import Z, which comes from Zod because we installed this library. Now we can continue using form. I will accept here the autocomplete and Zod resolver, which we had installed it, and make sure the import, this import Zod resolvers comes from hook form resolvers Zod. Now inside it, I have to send the data because we need name, department, and date, which is by default will be empty string. And here let's activate on submit. So I will say here const on submit, which we had it here inside the form on submit, and the form we want to submit is form schema. And inside it, of course, not console log. Actually, we need to create a new mutation as we created before for the user. So all we need to do is again inside convex, and here we will create appointments .ts. Then I will say export const create appointment but not define mutation, mutation only, and make sure to import it from generated server. Now for every mutation, as I said before, we have arguments and handlers. For the arguments here, we added doctor ID, date, and notes, and this information or this data come also from the schema, appointment schema. And for the handler, first I will get the user identity, which it comes from the documentation from Convex to sync Convex to Clerk, and push error, and we have to check if the patient already exists. So let patient await db dot, or not db, context.db dot query, and we will choose patient's query with index. Which index we had? We can choose by token, the index we had created. Then I will say q parameter q dot equal the token identifier which we had it inside our schema. If it's equal to identity dot token identifier which comes from the database, that means that the patient exists. Dot first. So here we are making sure that the user exists. Now, if it's not exist, here we will create a new user. So inside this condition, I will say if not patient, create a new one, context.db.insert inside patient schema the name, the email, and token identifier, which will come from Clerk. And if any error happens, I will throw a new error. After sending the patient's information, here we will create a new appointment. Const appointment ID equal to context.db.insert. Now insert, but inside appointments schema. The doctor ID, because the user we will choose the related doctor and the patient ID. The patient information will come here inside this one, because we are getting the ID of this patient, and the date, which is the date will create. Status by default will be pending and not. After that, we have to say return appointment ID. So let me save it. I think we have here an error. We have to import v value from convex value. Now let me go back again to hero and let's continue. Now inside on submit, now I can use mutation for create appointment. I will import it. Inside it, API, I will import it also. Now we have appointments which we had created and everything is ready. We can now, inside try catch, I will say here, try catch. Here inside try, create appointment. Now we'll put it inside it, name, department, and date. But here we have an issue. The department, I think we don't have it here inside appointments, inside the schema. So let me go again here. So let me go again here to schema and put the department. And I can inside it also put the index here. Now let's go back again to our appointments. And here let's pass the department instead of doctor ID. And let me go down here inside of doctor ID, I will say department. But now here, since we added department instead of doctor, here we have to make sure inside the schema that we added doctor ID here as an optional. But here we got error since the date here is not optional. Here what we can do, the date that will user choose, otherwise the new or the current date. And also we have the notes. And then we got error in notes because we have to add it here inside the form schema and also inside the form. Now after creating the appointment successfully, I can create here toast from Shadcn, but we have to install it. So again, let me go back here to React or to Shadcn and here search for Sonar. Sonar is a message that will display just like this. Now I can install it inside Next.js terminal. And how to use it? You just go to layout and put it here inside or below the children. Ctrl P, layout. You can import it here, toaster, from Sonar. Then we can use it right now inside any component we want. I will go again to hero and I will import it. After that, don't forget to reset the form. And if anything happen or any error, toast.error and console log. Let me see here, npm run dev. Let's make appointment. Choose department we want and the date. And appointment booked successfully. If I go back to the dashboard, here I can see the appointment. But actually we have to display the note and also what I need to do when I choose any category to display the related doctor. All we need to do is to create doctors.ts inside Convex, just what I created before for patients and appointments. And now we will get the doctors according to their categories. Export const get doctors by category equal to, we will not say mutation, but we will say query, because here we are not sending data. We are only getting data. And the same thing, it accepts arguments and handlers. Inside arguments, we have only the category. Inside handler, we have a query, which is doctors with the index by category. And here we are getting the doctor according to the category. Because here inside our schema, every doctor has its own category. Let's import here v. Now let's go back again to hero and make sure here inside the form schema for types to put doctor ID, it's very important, and inside the form which will send the data, also we have to pass it, and inside create appointment, here we have to add the doctor ID also. And here, as we can see, the doctor ID doesn't exist in type, so I will let anti-gravity explain this problem for us. So, explain and fix. It's now analyzing the hero, appointments also, schema also, and the problem is inside appointments. We had to add doctor ID here inside appointments and also inside appointment ID when we create a new appointment. That is the reason. And here also it suggested to make it as a condition just to avoid this error. Now to display the related doctors inside hero, after the date input, here we can create doctor selection and make map. And this map also will be inside this form using, as you can see here in the autocomplete, the select option and select content and the form message. So let's accept it. But here we have two issues. Selected department is not defined and also the doctors. For selected departments, just make sure to add form.watch. So whatever user will choose, the form will watch it and save it. Now for the doctors, all we need to do is to use a query, and don't forget to import it, which comes from Convex React to get this data. And since we had created get doctors by category, now we are importing it. Now we are importing this function. And the related schema is doctors. Inside it, we have to choose the selected category. So let's save it and test it. The name, department, now we can see the doctor, the related doctor, and the date. Let's make appointment and booked successfully. Let's go back again. And as we can see here, inside appointments, here we have department, doctor ID. I will add the notes, it's very simple, and the patient ID, and everything here is ready. To add notes, I have to make sure to install text area, comes from Shadcn, and we can add it wherever you want. And here inside notes field, I will add the text area, just like this. Import it. And now the form is ready. Now let's move to the next section, which is states. States must include how many doctors, how many patients, and how many departments the hospital has. So here I need to create also, like the other sections, appointments and patients. Here I will create new file, states.ts. This will count how many doctors do we have by getting the query doctors or the schema we have. And inside it, we have to say collect.length. So how many doctors do we have here? And the same thing, we have the patients, and also inside return, we returned the doctors. And by the way, we added departments here inside return. Of course, you can add it here. Like we added doctors count and patients count, it's up to you. Also the query, which is categories, then collect. Otherwise, we will give a default count, which is 6. And for the patients, since we don't have a lot of patients, we have only one patient right now, here I added plus 1,500. But if you have a lot of patients, of course, you don't need to add this count. And the experience is 25. So let's go now to the states component to get this query, and I will say use query, I will import it, and API, and here we have the states. And the states here means the file which we had created inside Convex, which is this one. Okay, here I will make another const which includes the label and the value of doctors, patients, and experience, which comes from use query. But here we have to define the user, which comes from Lucid React. It's just icon. So let's import it. And here I will install something called framer motion. So npm install framer motion. And you will see that after a while, why we add framer motion. Then npm run dev. I will create here new section, and inside it, pg primary padding y, which means from top and bottom will be 12. Let's create another div, and inside it the div which will be flex, because the categories or the statistics will be in one line. But if you want to make it responsive, you don't have to use flex, but you have to use grid system. So by default it will be 2 columns, but in the medium screens will be 4, medium or more than medium, large and x large. After that, let's make a map. State items dot map. Now I will pass here item and index, and here I will create motion div. That's why I installed this library, and I will import it. Import motion from framer motion. Motion div can accept default values like key, initial, for opacity, y in view, and you will see that later maybe we can modify it later. And now I will pass here the icon which comes from above item.icon inside this div. Then h3 which includes item.label. And if we have states here, we will pass item.value. And if it's still loading, I added here 3 points. You can add whatever you want. And here we are checking if the item.label equal to happy patients which comes also from above. And this expression is true, it will return plus. Now after this, we will add the item.label. But now since you are using here user query, we have to add user client. So let's convert it to client component, use client, and here is our section. Actually, we have 14 doctors and 6 departments, but as I said before, the patients, I added by purpose a big number because we now only have 1 patient and the years of experience. So this section now is ready. Let's move to the next section, which is categories here. And here is the categories. And by the way, I forgot to tell you something about motion.div. Whenever I refresh the page, when you see this motion, this comes from framer motion. That is why I added. Now let's move here to the categories. I think we have to create another file inside Convex called categories.ts, and it's very simple. Here, we are just using collect to get all the data from categories inside this schema. So let's import it here. Categories equal to use query api.categories. Let's import everything. Let's turn this div to new section because we are in landing page right now. And inside it, I will give it class name and create div to give it class name also, container, margin x auto, padding x4. And inside this div, we have only h2 and span and paragraph, nothing special. Now let's move to the other div, which will be inside the grid system. The default one is 2, but in the medium screens will be 3 and large screens will be 6. And the gap between the cards we will create it right now, it will be 6. Let's start mapping these categories. Inside it, category and index. First, I will map inside the icons. But since we are using const inside map, we have to convert these parentheses to this one. So it's very important. And inside it now, to avoid this syntax error, we will use return. And for these icons above, here I will use import all as icons from Lucid React. And for Lucid icon, I will just make it like this. Now inside return, I will use another motion div and import it from motion framer motion. And I will give it the same value which we had made it previously inside states, which is key, initial, while in view, and transition. And inside this div motion, I will pass the icons, which comes from icon component above. So I will put it just like this inside div, and I give it width and height, rounded full, and inside it the icon components. And beside it we have the category name inside h3. Otherwise, what can I do here is to load skeleton, and I can map it inside array. If you don't know how to make skeleton, you can ask Anti-Gravity or any AI agent. It's very simple. We don't have to waste our time to create it because it has so many designs. I used here animate pulse, and you can change the PG color whatever you want. Now let's make save, and also here we have to add as client because we are using use query, use client, and here is our new section. And this section comes from database. It's not a static section. And here we have this hover, this transition also. If you want to change the color here inside the icon, I think we can change it here inside the icon component. Instead of PG secondary, we can say PG, maybe red 200, like this. And whenever we make hover, the color will change. And if you want to change the hover also, we can use here PG, let's say red 500, and remove this 10, just like this, if you want to change it. I prefer to do it in this design and these colors. I choose PG red 500, and for hover, PG red 200, and I change the text from black to white. So it's up to you. And now the last section is best doctors. Inside it, actually we created here doctors.ts, but it only includes get doctors by category. Now let's create a new query to get all doctors. Just like this, get doctors, our arguments will be empty because we will not add anything inside it, no condition, no anything special. Just we are collecting all the doctors inside this query or this schema. Now, let's go to top doctors and say const doctors equal to get doctors and import everything again. So inside it, I will say const doctors, use query API doctors.get doctors, and don't forget to import everything like use query and API. Actually, we didn't create inside our database a boolean called is featured, so what we can do here instead, just I will choose for doctors, just to make it simple. And here let's create a new section inside div section. I will give it a class name. I will create div also, and another div for flex. This div will include only h2, span, and p, specialists, and paragraph. After this div, I will create link to see all the doctors. So link, and inside it, I will create button, which comes from Shadcn, view all, doctors, and make sure to import link from next link, not Lucid React. Href, it can be doctors, and we have to create this page. And I will give this button some class name, gap2 and variant ghost. And here beside view all doctors, I will create new icon from Lucid React, arrow right. Now after this div, let's create div inside the grid system to make map. So inside it, I will say doctors. If you have doctors, map for top doctors dot map doc. And here inside it, I will create another component called doctor card, and we have to pass the doctor here. Otherwise, we will use the skeleton, which we used before, since if there is loading. So now let's create doctor card inside components, doctor card.tsx, the default template, and let's import it here. And as you can see here, there is syntax error here. Actually, this error is TypeScript error because we haven't passed doctor inside doctor card. So let's pass it here to avoid this error. But make sure to not pass any TypeScript doesn't like using any. Instead of that, I will use Dr. props, Dr. card props, but Dr. card props now is not defined. And Dr. card props includes the schema or doctor's schema. And let me import here docs, which comes from generated data model. It comes from Convex. So here we are passing all the information related to doctor's schema. And now inside return, I will remove here everything and use card, which comes from Shadcn. So make sure to install it. I think we hadn't installed it yet. Let me make sure of that. No, we haven't installed it yet. So let me restart the terminal again. So here instead of text area, I will say card. Okay, npm run dev. Now let's import it from components UI cards. And I will give it also class name, word wrap. And inside this div, we will create right now, it will include the image which comes from next image. Make sure to import it. And it has src doctor.image, alt doctor.name, and class name. And inside the same div also, I will create the category for every doctor. Inside this div, the category will be inside batch, which comes also from Lucid React. But here actually, if I import it from Lucid React, the variant here will be, as you can see here, not assignable, because we have to install it from Shadcn and import it from Shadcn, not Lucid React. So here, instead of card, I will say batch. npm run dev again, and let's import it from Shadcn, batch from UI batch. Now let's create the card header also from Shadcn. Make sure to import it. Inside card header, here we have a doctor name, just like this. I will give it also class name. And also we have the location inside schema, doctor location. So let's here import map pin from Shadcn, and inside it doctor.location. And after card header, here we have card content, which will include the doctor experience and expertise, and it must be inside the map. Because if I go back here to schema again, let me go back here to show you. The expertise here inside schema is array. So we have to map expertise because it's array. Otherwise, it will give an error. Let's import everything here. And after the card content, we have the footer. And the link from next link. The button also from UI button Shadcn. And here is the ID for doctor details. So we have to create doctor details. And let's use a client because we have use query. And we have to do the same thing also for doctors, for top doctors. So let me add it again. Use client. Okay, here we have an error. Here we have error for host name, images, and splash.com. Since we are using image from Next.js, we have to define all the host name includes. Now we have here Unsplash. So let's take this host name, copy paste, and go back to next config. Here we have to add the host name. Just copy paste it like this, add the protocol HTTPS and the host name. You have to take it copy paste from the error above, which we had it here. Now let's refresh the page. And here is our doctors, specialized here, view profile. We have to work on view profile. See all doctors, we have to work on this page also. So let's create view all doctors. What about asking anti-gravity this time to create this page? Let's see the power of anti-gravity. Here I will say create all doctors page with card designs maybe, or whatever you want, and nice styling. Let's hit enter and see how it will create it. Now it's giving me a plan to create all doctors here. Let me see the plan. Here ensure get or get all query exists to fetch all doctors, if not add it. And it will create a new page for all doctors page.tsx. And it will use the grid calls inside tailwind fetch all doctors using Convex query, and navigate to all doctors. So I think this plan is okay. I will say okay, start. Now it's thinking using get doctors from Convex doctors, and here's starting now creating this new one. As you can see here, all doctors, this new page, and here is our new page, but it hasn't finished yet maybe. Let's accept the changes right now to see how it will create it. I have completed the all doctors page. So let's take a look at this page. But actually here it didn't install components UI Skeleton, which comes from Shadcn. Let's install it. Skeleton. It can sometimes miss some issues or packages, but it doesn't matter. We know how to handle it. npm run dev again. Let me here see view all doctors. We have to navigate for this page. Here if I write view all doctors just to see in which page, in top doctors page, because the anti-gravity created just like this, all doctors, and our link here is only doctors. So here what we can do it, I will pass here all doctors. Let me go back again to home page, again view all doctors, and I think it's a very nice design and very nice cards here. So let's keep it and let's move to the next step, which is view profile or doctor ID. Now inside all doctors, I would create a new folder, and since it's dynamic routes, here we have to add not the normal parentheses, but the brackets here, just like this, and inside it, page.tsx. And as you know, in Next.js, we cannot add any name instead of page.tsx. So here I will say rfce, and since it's dynamic routes, here I have to use params, which comes from next navigation. Not use search params, but use params. Use params. I will remove use search params. And here I will get the doctor ID just like this. This ID also comes from generated data model to fetch all the information or all the data related to this doctor. And we have to create a new function inside doctors, inside Convex here, to include, here we have only get doctor by category and get all doctors. For get doctor by ID here, I will say get doctor by ID. It includes here, as you can see, ID is very important. And here arguments.id is just very simple. Now let's go back again and get this query, import user query, API. As you can see, while you are using Convex, there is no need to use state or use effect. And that will be much better for the performance of our app. But here I have to say ID, doctor ID. And here just in case I have to make sure that if doctor is undefined, so it will keep loading and loading by using animate pulse. This is loading skeleton, and the same thing we will do if the doctor is null. Or we can say instead doctor not found. Now inside return, I will give it class name, flex call minimum height screen. Now inside it I will pass here the header or profile section, and I will give it here div and the class name. Inside it I will create another div for the image. And here is our image imported from next link. And let's start with doctor info. I will give it here a class name. And inside this div, I will include all the information, doctor.category, the reviews. Actually, we don't have anything or any schema for reviews. That's why I added manually. And the doctor name, doctor location, doctor experience. Everything here comes from, I think here this patch comes from UI patch, because we are using here variant. And the mapping and awards. Now after finishing this div, I will close it. Here I can put separator, which comes also from Lucid React. And let's create another div for bio. Just like this. This div, about, and inside it, bio. and another div for expertise, this one. So we have to make map inside it, since we are using array inside the schema, and the badge. After this div is very important, is for making appointment. Now, button, calendar, and phone. So let's save it, refresh the page, and view profile. Page is not found, okay, because here we have to use all doctors again. Let me go back again here to view profile. Here we have to use all doctors. That's it. Let's go again to landing page, view profile. Since we are using here use params, this React hook only works in client components. So let's add again use client inside ID. Use client. Okay, now here is all the information about the doctor, contact, and book appointment. Now let's work on book appointment. It's very important. Now what I need right now, whenever I click on book appointment, I have to show dialog which comes from Shadcn to display the time slots and the date or the days. So here what we can do again, I will go to Shadcn, again to documentation, and I will search for dialog just to show you how it works. Just like this, we need something like this. So I will install it here instead of Shadcn dialog. Okay, again npm run dev. Now here let me go back again to page doctor ID details. Here inside this div, what I need to do is to create inside it book appointment model in other component, and inside it we have to pass the doctor ID and the doctor name. And we didn't change anything about the phone, contact, everything is the same. So let me here create inside components.tsx the default template, and let's import it before we start it. If I go back here inside Shadcn, here is that dialog. I can take it, copy paste by the way, and put everything inside it. But here let me change again this name to book appointment model. What wrap? Now inside dialog here I will pass open and state is open, which we have to create for that a new use state. So I will create it here just like this and import use state. And here inside this button I will replace it with book appointment. And inside it I want to put also calendar icon. That's it. Now inside the title here we can say instead of edit profile, book appointment. And inside description I will replace it with the doctor name. Schedule visit with doctor and doctor name is not defined because we have to pass it as a props. So here I have to say doctor ID and doctor name here is equal to book appointment model props, but it's not defined. So here I will pass the doctor ID and doctor name, but I will replace doctor ID here with ID doctors here, which comes from our schema, and here Convex generated data model. Let me go back again here inside return. After the description and after also the dialog header, here inside the class name I will put padding y4, and actually I will delete everything here as I will pass my own data. So inside this div, first I will put the date selection, which includes the label here, and inside it, inside the div, a calendar which comes from. Let me go back again here to Shadcn. This calendar must come from Shadcn, not Lucid React. So I will install it again. Add calendar. It's wrong. So let me search for it. Calendar. Here is the calendar. Okay, it's now installing. Again, npm run dev. So let's import the calendar which comes from here UI components calendar. And again, it's normal to see date and set date is undefined right now because we have to pass use state for that. And actually inside the calendar here in Shadcn, we can define it and take it copy paste. Let's see if we have to modify it. Date and set date here. Okay, that's it. Now let's continue. After the calendar here, we will use the time selection or time slot. But we can choose time slot if we haven't choose the date yet. So here I have to make sure if there is date and here I will create div for that and give it also class name, label, and inside grid I will give it also class name. Now we have to make map inside time slot, but time slot now will be undefined. Since it's static data, here I can pass it inside our function. Time slot just like this. Every 30 minutes it will be a new date or new time slot. Now inside this div, let's put this time slot again. And now selected time and set selected time is undefined. We have to make use state for that and also for cn. So let's import or define all of them. For selected time, I will choose it like this. By default will be null. Now let's create our mutation to create a new appointment. But here I will add also, just in case, the notes. If you want to add note while making appointment, it will be so similar to appointment which we had seen before inside the landing page. But here it will be more detailed. So I will use the same mutation which comes from API here, appointments and create appointment. So here I will say const, maybe it can be handle book equal to async, but here there is a syntax error. Okay, we have to make sure that the date and selected time is not empty. Here this is syntax error. Okay, I think we forgot to add loading and set loading, because inside here, since we are sending the data, we will say set is loading, it will be true. Now inside the try and catch, here we will combine the date and time. Here by using split. Selected type.split and choose the new date, which is the date that user selected, and here appointment date.set hours to hours, minutes and seconds. Then I will say await create appointment for doctor ID, date and notes, but we have now error is not assignable doctors. Okay, we will handle it of course, but let's continue right now. After that, set is open will be false, because we made appointment and everything will return to its default value. Set notes will be empty, set selected time will be null, and set date will be undefined. And inside catch error, you will handle the error. And finally here, set loading will be false, because we send the data. But now as you can see here, handle book, we have to create this function here inside dialog footer. I will replace dialog footer here with another footer, includes button, and inside this button on click handle book, just like this, and it will be disabled since we don't have or we haven't selected the date or selected time, or since it's loading. Here I will import loader2 from Lucid React. And here when I asked Anti-Gravity about that, we missed adding department here. So let me accept the changes here. We have to pass department, and inside the page ID also, here it made some changes. It added department also, since it's not optional, we have to pass it. So we added here inside create appointment. We added also inside the props and inside the interface. Here we have issues with CN. We have to import it from libutils. That's it. So let's go back and test it. Book appointment. I can see now the model. Let me choose date and now the time slot and confirm booking. But I have to add toast message because now I don't know if it's successful or not. But since we don't have or we don't see any error here, that means we had made it successfully. And if I go back here to my appointments, I can see this appointment. So let me add right now the toast message. So here after create appointment, import it from Sonar. And inside catch also, fail to book appointment. What about receiving an email after we create an appointment? I think it's a very important thing. All we have to do is to create actions here inside Convex and install npm install resend. You might ask me, what is resend? Resend is an email platform for developers. It helps us to send and receive emails, but we have to make sure to create an API key and create API key I've created before, then paste it inside .env and paste it resend API key. And the API key for resend will not work if you don't add it inside Convex dashboard. So make sure to go to settings, environment variables and add resend API key. Now the next step after we installing npm install resend, all I need to do is inside action to handle this resend library. And by the way, if we go to documentation of resend and here, I will choose Next.js. Here all the documentation about it. Here is an example here to create an email format just like this, and now we will do it inside action. All we need to do here is to get process.env.resend API key is very important. You can copy paste it and do whatever you want. So here the argumentations, as you can see here, patient name, doctor name, date, appointment ID. And now inside this email, the things we are seeing here. And inside handler first, it's making sure the resend API key is active. Then resend.emails.send. Now the format you are seeing here is the same format you are seeing here inside this email. So dear, here is the patient name and appointment with the doctor name, as you can see here, patient name, doctor name, date, and appointment ID. You can copy paste this format, it's very simple. Now we have to move to appointments.ts. Here inside this page, we have to create update status, because as you know, if I go back here to Convex dashboard, now all status is pending by default. So what we need to do, whenever we change the status from pending to confirmed, we will receive an email. But of course, we will not change the status here inside this dashboard. I will show you how to make it. Now we will create another function called update status. This will include appointment ID and status. And here, it's getting the get user identity from Clerk ID. After that, getting the appointment ID and patch appointment ID, because the status now will be from pending to confirmed, as you can see here. And we are getting also the patient ID, the doctor ID, and after it gets all this information, if patient and patient.email and doctor, when we get all this info, it will activate send email confirmation, which comes from actions, like this. And inside it, as we pass here all this data, like patient name, doctor name, we have to accept it inside appointments, just like this. That's it. Now, as I said before, I don't want to change the status here from pending to confirmed. And by the way, if we change it here inside this dashboard, nothing will change about the email. We have to create inside app a new directory called admin, and inside it appointments, then page.tsx. To create simple dashboard, and from this dashboard we will accept all the appointments. Then we will receive an email. Now here I will say RFCE, and inside it I will change it to appointment admin. First I need to get the appointments information from user query get appointments. Let me import user query and API. And if you go to get appointments, here we are getting all the appointments. Maybe I forgot to say that we have to add get appointments, but it's very simple. It uses this query to get all appointments from newest to oldest and then collect to get all of them. Then map inside all the appointments to get the doctor of this appointment and the patient of this specific appointment. Then return all this data. So after we get appointments, here I need to use mutation, not use query, because here now we will update inside return here, we will update the status from pending to confirmed. That's why we used use mutation, because it will be send request or post request. Now first inside this div, I will give it class name, and inside it an h1 appointment management. Then I will create div to handle the table. You can use table from Shadcn or create your own table. I will create here my own table, and I will give it class name. Then inside table head, I will pass here, let me say here word wrap. I will pass here date, patient, doctor, department, status, and actions inside table head. Let's close now table head. We don't need it after that. Now let's create table body. And I will give it class name also and map inside appointments. So appointments dot map. Here I will give appointment inside the map, just like this. And I will create a new table row and give it key equal to appointment dot ID. Now the first one will be the date. This is table data. The second one will be for patient name and patient email. The third one, it will be for appointment.doctor.name, the doctor name. And here we have department or the category. And the most important thing right now is the status. So according to status, the class name will change. So the default class name here, as you can see, padding x2, inline flex and whatever. Now, according to status, now if it's confirmed, it will be green and the text will be green. And if it's pending, it will be yellow. And if it's cancelled, it will be red. So it's very important table data. Now here, let's create another table data and I will explain to you how to handle it. I will give it here class name. Let me say here, if I choose the status to be pending, what will happen? If it's pending, I will create div for that and give it class name. And inside it, I will create two buttons. The first one, which has on-click, handles status update. And beside each of them, we will have confirmed and cancelled. You can imagine them just like this. We have here confirm and cancel. And by the way, this is for actions column. And if I choose here confirmed, confirm and cancel will be disappeared. But here handle status update is undefined. We will handle it, of course, but let me finish here everything about the table. Now, if I choose that the status will be confirmed, here it will mark as completed. As you can see here, mark complete. And now I can see here now mark complete, just like this. Now let's handle status update. Const handle status update async. Inside it, I need to get the appointment ID, but here there is a syntax error. Here I need to get the appointment ID and import it here from data model. Then the status. Now inside this function, because we were passing these as parameters, now inside it, await update status, and inside it, let me remove this and say appointment ID and status. Here I have to say, but make sure here there's a syntax error. Let me handle it just like this. And if there is no appointment, loading appointments maybe or anything. But don't forget to use client here because it's client component. Now I can see here all my appointments If I choose now here, confirm, let's see what will happen. Confirm. And here, as you can see, I can receive now a new email. If I click on it, I can see here my data, my name, doctor's name, date and time, and appointment ID. So here is how we can handle and send email. What about creating AI chat to ask it for our appointments, maybe opening hours or anything? Here inside Actions, first I need to install npm OpenAI, just like this. npm install OpenAI. npm run dev. Now the next step, I have to call this key OpenAI key and make sure to import OpenAI from OpenAI. But how to get the key? It's very simple. Just go to OpenAI agent, and here you can see agents OpenAI. Then after creating account or login, just go here to dashboard and API keys. Here you can create a new API key. I had created before, so make sure to add it and put it now inside .env. It might ask you to create a project. It's very simple. I had previously created a project, so all you need to do here is to go back again to .env and paste here the OpenAI key. After that, export const chat equal to action. Here we imported action from generated server. And action accepts also arguments and handlers. Inside arguments here, we have to pass message. Since we are creating here AI chatbot, message is required every single time. Inside it, I will create something called conversation history, because we will use it later. Inside it here, we have the role. It might be user, assistant, or system. And the content. Content means the conversation between the user and assistant. Now the handler will be a little bit long. Inside handler here, it's getting the user ID from user clerk ID. First, appointment context will be nothing, empty string. And here is the smart part of our code. Here we are using something called run query, which comes also from Convex. It's getting all my appointments. By the way, we have to create my appointments because the AI will get the appointments or my appointments from this function. So let's go back to appointments. And here I will say export const my appointments equal to query. We will not add anything inside arguments because we are only getting data. And for the handlers, first I will get the user clerk ID. Then we will get here the patient information inside patient schema. And the token identifier must be equal to the token identifier inside our database. Because here we are getting specific user, not all users. And here let's make sure that the patient, if it's not found, it will return empty array. Then we will get the patient's appointments. So we will fetch here appointments schema and inside it with index by patient. And the patient ID must be equal to patient ID inside Convex. Then collect. So in this line, we are getting all the appointments to this user. And it's very important to add the doctor details and join it with doctor details. So here I will say const appointments with doctors equal to await promise.all. Because I might have appointments with many doctors. That's why I have to use promise.all. And inside it, I have to map inside appointments to get the doctor ID. Then we will return all the appointments with all the doctors. After that, we will return appointments with doctors, the final result. It is everything about my appointment. Let me go back again to actions. Now my appointments is ready. So if we have appointments and if it's bigger than 0, here the appointments context will be changed from empty to the user's appointments. And since the user might have more than one appointment, we have to make map inside it to get the date of appointment and the doctor name and the status of the appointment. Otherwise, with everything empty, user has no upcoming appointments. And here is the prompt, because AI will not understand what it will do. So I have to say you are helpful medical assistant to Medcare hospital. You can help users to check their appointments. And it's very, very important to use the current user, otherwise it will not know which user's appointment will fetch. So we have to say here identity.name, which comes from Clerk ID. And here's the identity, by the way. We are getting here from get user identity. And inside it, appointment context to get all the appointments. After that, since we are using chatbot, which means messages between user and assistant or system, we have to specify the role of each one. For the system, the content we'll use is the prompt I give it, but for the user, the content includes the message we'll write. And this message comes from here above, the message here. And it will be inside input or form we will create it. Let me explain to you why we are using here arguments.conversationhistory.map. Here we are using conversation chat history or history, because inside arguments we passed it here as an array, and it includes the content and the role. What does it mean? When I text the AI, I want to show all my messages. Let me here explain it to you. Whenever I write anything to Gemini, here I can see now my message, and if I write anything else, I can see my old message and my new message. This is called chat history. And at the same time, I can see the AI's message, the last or the previous AI's message. And now, the most important line, which is openai.chat.completion.create. And you can find this inside OpenAI documentation. Here you can choose any model. I choose ChatGPT Turbo. Or you can use ChatGPT 4, and the messages include the messages between the user and AI. Then we will get the return. It's very important to see all the results. That's it. Now we have to create inside components AI chat sidebar. Let me here say RFCE to display all the messages. And by the way, before I forget to tell you, don't forget to go back again to settings inside Convex and adding OpenAI key, as you added before for recent API key. Otherwise, nothing will work. Because when we put OpenAI key inside Convex, AI can read everything inside Convex data or Convex tables. Now inside AI chat sidebar, I must add here the type, message, it will be user or assistant or system, and the content. And here inside use state, for messages, I can say message, which we defined it here as a type, and inside it, by default, I created the role must be assistant, because the AI will start chatting before the user starts chatting. And inside it, default. Content, you can change it whatever you want. And I will include also the input, and set input by default from the user will be nothing until the user starts texting. And here is the secret. Now I have to add send message, which includes use action, not use query or use mutation, use action. Why we are using use action? Because now we are not fetching data or we are not getting data, but there is external API here. And I mean by that OpenAI. Any external API, we have to use action. So let's import it. And let's import also API. Now let's create a new function, const handle send. And to make sure it's not empty, we have to put input.trim. After that, we will get the messages. So new messages equal to, and the reason why I put here the 3 dots, because I want to get all the messages, the previous messages and the new messages. Just like we had seen before, we can see whatever we write here, we can see the old ones and the new ones. First, the role will be user and content will be the input, which means anything the user will text it. And to update these new messages, we have to say set messages equal to the new messages. After that, set input must be returned to its default value, and it will be empty string. Because here, whenever I write anything, as you can see here, the input now is getting empty. And set is loading will be true, because I'm waiting response from the AI. Then inside try and catch, here we have to map inside the new messages to display them. So we have to say const history equal to new messages dot map. And we are getting the role, whatever is from user or AI, and the content also. And for the response, await send message, which includes the use action to get the data from Convex, and send message will include the message, which means the input or the user message, and the conversation history to get all the messages. And after users messages, we will get the AI messages. But inside condition, if we have response which will come from user, now we will get the AI messages. And the role will be assistant. And inside catch, here I will say set messages. I will get the previous messages, but the role assistant, and it will be I'm having trouble connecting right now. Then set loading will be false. Now inside return, I will put everything inside sheet. This sheet comes from Shadcn. So make sure to install it, and I will show you how it works. Just type here, and when we click on it, we can see here the sheet like this. So make sure to install it to get started. And here is the sheet trigger to open it, sheet content, sheet header, and everything. We will use the same thing. So I will take it, copy paste, and change it. I will import it. It's not from Lucid React, but it's from UI sheet. And I can import it here immediately and put it above. Inside the sheet here, I will pass is open and set is open, so I have to add use state. I will put it here. And inside sheet trigger, I will not use here to open, but I will put a new button. This button includes only an icon. This icon comes from Lucid React. So let me import it. Now sheet trigger is ready, but here let me say as a child. After sheet trigger, let's start sheet content. For the sheet content, I will give it class name, width and height, flex and flex call. Inside sheet title, I will remove this and put a new pot, which comes also from Lucid React. Inside description, actually I don't need description here. I can remove it and replace it with something called scroll area, which comes from Lucid React. Here you can write scroll area, and make sure to install it here. Scroll area, just to make scroll here, because the conversation might be long. So here I will pass scroll area and import it from components UI scroll area, Shadcn. Now inside it here, mapping inside the messages, first the role will be user, and if the role is user, we are changing here the class name a little bit. So margin left will be auto. As you can see here inside Gemini, my message at the right side, but the AI message is in the left side. Now, if the role is equal to user, I will import it here from Lucid React. So if the role is user, we will use the user icon, otherwise the bot icon. And inside it, the content. And by the way here, if the role here equal to user, we are changing also the PG primary. Like this here in Gemini, the PG primary here is gray. Otherwise, if it's not the user, so if it's the AI, I will change it here to PG muted. And inside this div, we are passing the content between user and AI pass. And if there is loading inside the conversation, we are passing here the bot icon, and the loader, which comes from Lucid React and thinking. Let's also import Cn. But now the sheet will not be working or appeared. We have to go to layout. So let's go to layout, since this sheet will be inside our app. So let's go back here to layout and import it here, AI chat sidebar, and import it. And since we are using here use state, we have to make it client component. So use client. Now you can see here the bot. Let me click on it and it will open. But now I have to see here some default messages to click on them, like my appointments or opening hours. So how we can make it? Just go down after scrolled area here. We can create a new div. This div include inputs, comes from Shadcn. Inside this input, I will write my own message as user's message and the send icon from Lucid React. Just like this here. I mean this input here. And to put some default messages, here we can put it like check my appointments, opening hours. Actually, I don't need here find a cardiologist. I can remove it. And whenever we click on the button, let me save it and show you. I mean this button here, the message will be sent. But here the input, I need to put it here at the bottom. And the reason is here we are putting everything inside sheet header. So we have to move the scroll area and the div outside the sheet header. Now we can see the input here. Let me check it and taste it. Check my appointments. And here is my appointment. Now it's pending, the status, and here is the doctor and the date and time. And let me ask it anything else, opening hours maybe. Here it says open 24 hours, 7 days a week. So here is how you can make AI chatbot. I hope you understand it. This is the hardest section in our project. What if I want to make my dashboard protected, so not anyone can log in or see this dashboard? All I need to do is inside patient schema, I need to create another field, which is role. Make it like this, union, and inside it, admin or guest. Here is the first step. The second step, go to patients. Inside patients, when we create a new user, here we have to add our new field. And as you can see here, there is a TypeScript error because there is a missing field here. So let's add it, and the default value will be guest. You might need migration after you add a new field and create new file inside Convex folder, which called migrations, to add this new field. It might be required for you, so I add it for you. You can copy paste it. Here we are collecting everything inside patient schema, then loop through and add the field if missing. So if record.role equal to undefined, we have to patch it or update it and add the role is guest. As you can see here, now is running a new script. Okay, now the third step is to create a new layout, but inside admin, not inside any folder else. Inside admin, and inside it, when we try to access admin, it will verify if I am guest or admin by using use effect, just like this. Here we are getting use Convex Auth, which comes from Convex React, then call this query, which is patients, because we already added now the role, which is by default now guest. Now here is the secret. When we use here use effect, it's verifying our role. So if you are not authenticated, then it will push us to the main page. And if the user here is equal to undefined, then it will redirect us to main page. And the second condition, if user equal to null or the role is not admin, here is the secret, now it will push us to the main page also. That's it. And since we are using here layout, we have to use children here inside our return. And by the way, go again to appointments, not only patients, but go to appointments also. And here, when we create a new appointment, in case the user here is not exist, here also we have to add his or her role. Now let's go back to our dashboard. As you can see here, we can see now our new field, and the default value here is guest. Let's try to access the dashboard. Now as a guest, here I will say admin appointments, and as you can see, it redirected me now to main page. Let's change here the role and make it admin. Now let's try to access it, admin and appointments, and now as you can see, I can access my dashboard. And now here is the footer is not ready. I'm not going to waste my time creating footer. It's very simple. You can ask any AI agent to create it. I will ask here anti-gravity to create new footer, create nice design footer. And here is our new footer. Now what about creating new doctor inside our dashboard? Go to doctors inside Convex. Here let's create a new function, which is create doctor. Inside it, the arguments. Here, the data which comes from the doctor schema. And inside handlers, only one line, which includes the arguments here, which comes from here, and insert inside doctor's schema. That's it. Now let's create inside our dashboard a new page. Here, make sure inside admin to create a new directory, doctors, add, and page.tsx. And the default template, here we have to call two main things. The first one is use a query which includes the categories, because when we add a new doctor, we have to identify the category of this doctor, and the mutation of creating new doctors. So let's import all of them. And if I want to display the image of the doctor, here we can add new use state, preview data and set preview data. And the type is form schema, but the form schema here is not defined, and Z here refers to ZOD. So what about form schema? Form schema will include all the data we have to add it inside these inputs, which includes name, category, image, bio, expertise, and everything. First, the default value of our form will be everything empty. And here we are using use form, which comes from React hook form, which we had added it in the last part. And for ZOD resolvers, here we have to import it also from hook form. Now to handle image and see the image we are uploading, here I will leave comment. Here we have to use effect, and inside it form.watch. So it will watch the image we are uploading it and set preview data to update this image. And inside it the type form schema, which comes above and includes also the image. Now whenever we click on submit button, what will happen? Let me here add the submit button. Submit button here include the function create doctor, which comes from create doctor here inside use mutation, and includes the values we will add, and expertise here. Why we add expertise here? Because we might have many expertises since it's array inside our schema, and we have to split between every expertise with comma and make map inside it because it's array. It's very important. After that, toast message that doctor added successfully. And for router, here I need to add new use state, router equal to use router, which comes from Next navigation. So it will redirect me to maybe doctors, but I think we don't have page called doctors. We have only admin and appointments. Then inside return, we will create our inputs and form. The form is very simple, nothing special inside it. I used here from Shadcn the card header, card title, and label, full name, input, including form state.errors, and everything here comes from Shadcn. You can write form or form hook and you can find anything. So let me import all of them, and don't forget to use client. Now our page is ready, but we have to add button inside our dashboard, maybe inside appointments. Let's add a button. Before the table here, I will add here before h1, I will make div flex items center justify between. Inside this div, we have h1 here and the button from Shadcn, and includes add doctor. And it must be inside link here from next link. Make sure to import it. href admin, not appointments add, but we have to add here admin doctors add. Now let's save it and see what will happen. Let's go to our dashboard inside admin appointments. Now I can see here add doctor, and here is our form. Let me create anything, and whatever I add here, I can see here inside this section. The image, we can get any image URL. I can get it from Unsplash, or we can upload it manually. I will add this image from Unsplash. Now let me add the doctor, added successfully, and I must see this doctor inside our new doctors here. See all doctors. And here is our new doctor. So I hope this project will be useful for you. If you can pass it, that means you can pass anything, especially the AI section. So if you like this project, hit the like button to continue with you.